Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Rant Squad. I am the Water Dog. This is
Clint Jordan.
and this is
Bernard.
And gang, we're doing our year-end awards right here. Our year-end awards, if I can say it all straight here for you. And talk about who we think is going to be, who was our offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, rookies of the year, all that good stuff. So we're doing our year awards, and we're going to get started with you, Mr. Brendan. Offensive player of the year. Offensively, We're not talking about most valuable player. Best offensive player of the year to you.
So with this one, I'm actually going to call an audible on myself. Just sitting here, I'm looking at it right now. And my offensive player of the year is going to be Saquon Barkley. I think 345 rush attempts, 2,005 rushing yards. I think he probably would have broke the record if he would have played against the Giants in that game. And then receiving as well. I just think Barkley had a really good offensive season.
Okay. Clint, who's your guy?
I got to go with Jamar Chase, the Triple Crown winner. I was between Chase and Burrow, and I think you look at what Burrow did in comparison to other quarterbacks and what Chase did in comparison with the other wide receivers. Just Jamar. I mean, he was there every single play. When they needed to play, he made it happen. 1,700. He averaged 100 yards a game. He averaged a touchdown every game. That's hard enough to do, and in the extended season. I'm just very, very impressed by what Jamar Chase came out and did, and just showed. After you remember, he had that great rookie season, and he's kind of had a couple of down years. So I think there was maybe a little bit of doubt, maybe floating out, and he ended all of that. Okay.
Well, my heart wants to go Josh Allen, but if I'm going by the stats. The eyeball test tells me who I think is the better offensive player. Is it Josh Allen or is it Lamar Jackson? But if you look at Lamar Jackson's stats, 4,172 passing yards, 41 passing touchdowns, 915 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, a 77.5 QBR, and a 119.6 quarterback rating, which was the highest in the league. His touchdown to interception ratio is amazing. You got to give it to Lamar Jackson. I mean, he just put up the stats, and that's despite, when we talked about this earlier, the fact that you had a running back that got you over 50
yards,
1,900
yards,
total yards.
Oh yeah,
total yards. Yeah, total yards.
Yeah,
over 1,500 yards rushing, over 15 touchdowns. It's just, Derrick Henry has that kind of a year. Basically an all-pro MVP year, and then your quarterback still does that. You got to go Lamar Jackson. So offensive player, I'm going to go Lamar Jackson. Defensive player of the year, Brandon, who you got?
I'm going to go with T.J. Watt on this. 61 tackles, 11.5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles. I just think he led that Steelers team, that defense really. We got to help him get in the playoffs. Because this offense, I know the last 4 games, I think 4 or 5 now, have really been a skid for them. But I feel like just throughout the season, they won defensively first. And he's the heart and soul of that defense. So give me T.J. Watt.
Clint?
I've got a guy that it's unfortunate. I don't think he'll win. Talk about it a little bit. But I want to go back to one of the best linebackers to ever play the game. I think he's one of the best linebackers, and he retired early. His name was Luke Kuechly. Right, his 2013 Defensive Player of the Year season was 156 tackles, 93 solo, 2 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, 7 pass defense, 4 interceptions. No forced fumble, no fumble recoveries, but pretty good season. And he's an all-time probably top 10 linebacker. Dude's one of the smartest to ever play the game. And this year, I didn't feel like there was that shining star. Usually to me, there's a guy that just really makes.
That everybody talks about every week.
Exactly. And that wasn't this year. But when I really dug in, I don't think he's going to win. But man, if I could pound the table for somebody, it's Zach Bond, the linebacker for the Eagles. All right, 151 tackles, 93 solo, 3.5 sacks. So he beat Kuechly's sacks. He tied him on a solo. 15 tackles for loss, 5 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, 1 interception, and 4 pass defense. Just the same, if not maybe a little better. Just a really impressive season. He was all over. He was, a lot of people thought Devin White was going to be the leader of that Eagles defense in the middle, but Zach Bond came to play, and he was a top fantasy linebacker, and he was a top real NFL linebacker. I really hope that the committee can see that and give him Defensive Player of the Year.
I'm going to shock y'all. Because in my heart, I think the best defensive player is T.J. Watt. But if I'm sitting here thinking, okay, who was the player that had the most impact for his team when they really needed it? This is a team that went 14-3, and I'm going to go with Alex Van Winkle. Or Andrew Van Winkle, excuse me, Andrew. 72 tackles, 12 sacks, 2 interceptions, 2 receptions returned for the TD, and then of course in pass coverage, he had the best linebacking pass coverage of any linebacker percentage-wise in the league this year, and so his ability to play, into the trenches and then into the coverage was better than. And if you actually watch the Vikings game, he's always in the shot. If you look at it, he's always in shot. And in this last game here, he almost had a pick six.
I was about to say, if he gets that third pick six, I'll give it to you. But I can't give it to him. He dropped it because that's a play that you need your starter to make.
Yeah.
It was there. It was there. You needed him to make
But at least
play.
he was there in position like he typically is.
But he didn't make the play.
But he's so.
He didn't make the play. He did.
But he would be my pick. So if I was going to,
should have looked at Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith catch an easy pass. The Eagles are the number 1 seed in the NFL. So
yeah, but you're not going to deny Saquon Barkley's year.
No.
But you'll deny Van Winkle.
But Barkley wasn't offensive.
There you go. So there you go.
Whatever.
All right. So most valuable player, Brendan.
My MVP. What is the best thing a horse can do in racing?
Win.
But win what?
The Triple Crown.
Thank you. And I've said it since Cooper Kupp did it, and Jamar Chase should win the MVP for winning the Triple Crown. We need to quit just giving it to a quarterback every year. They need to create their own quarterback award. Make a Cy Young. Make a Tom Brady award for the quarterback.
That's why I like Offensive Player of the Year and Most Valuable. I think those are two different things.
But
the MVP is a quarterback award, and usually the offensive player goes to somebody.
But my thing is Jamar Chase, the Triple Crown, 127 receptions, 1,700 yards, 17 touchdowns. At some point, a non-quarterback's going to have to win it. I think if Barkley broke the record, he would get it this year.
I think that's what's going to stop him from not getting it.
Yeah, I think if he breaks Dickerson's record, they have to give it to him because
I don't think they have
the
to,
last one.
But yeah, it would have been a lot closer. Him not getting it definitely.
And so I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. I said it when Cooper Kupp did it. That should be your MVP.
Clint, who's your MVP?
I've gone back and forth on this. A couple weeks ago I was Barkley, and I really was. And I think if they'd have broke the record, but then I've also been really impressed with what the team has done without Hurts, and it just shows how much of a complete team they did. And I'm with the NFL. If your team don't make the playoffs, that's a big ordeal. And Joe Burrow and the Bengals did not make the playoffs, so I go to my second choice, and that's Josh Allen, because I think the Ravens are still a good team. Without Lamar and with what Henry did, I don't think the Bills are the number 2 seed and a 13-plus win team without Josh Allen. So, I mean, that's just – I think he's deserved it this year. He proved me wrong because I thought he would have a step back, and I'll eat my crow on that one.
He probably had his best year, I think, overall. I don't think the stats prove it, but I think he had his best year. I mean, it's just as far as the leadership, the playing – the timely wins that they've had, because you've got to realize that they beat the Chiefs again, and so that's a very big win for them. They also beat the Lions. That's another big win, and those are my 2 Super Bowl picks right there. Yeah. The only big team that they lost to was the Ravens. Yeah. That was their only loss.
When Houston was looking good.
Yeah, that was in the first few weeks of the season. It's Saquon Barkley. And he basically gets the record with fewer carries than Dickerson.
Correct. He was 30 carries shorter than Dickerson.
Yeah. So he hit that 2,000-yard mark. Short. And so to me, that's what makes the Eagles really the threat to win it all. If you take Barkley off that team, they are not a Super Bowl contender.
Oh, I disagree with that.
I don't. Because what are you going to have to fill that void? There's nothing.
Oh, I agree. There's a void there, but I still think they have a good offensive lineman, and they're still running the ball well.
They're a playoff team. They're not a Super Bowl contender. And to me, those are 2 different things.
That's fair.
Okay, and I think if they're a Super Bowl contender with Barkley, I don't think they are without him. I think for right now, for example, you could put the backup quarterback in for Philadelphia, and I still think they can win the Super Bowl because of Barkley. Okay. See what I'm saying? So Hurts in or out, I think as long as you've got Barkley, you have a chance to win the Super Bowl. You take Barkley out, I don't think you have a chance to win the Super Bowl. I think you're one and done in the playoffs. Fair. And so I think it's Saquon Barkley. I think if they were actually looking at this judiciously as much as possible instead of. I know you can get blown away with what Lamar Jackson did, but Lamar Jackson is on an offensive team. It's just amazing. And when you've got everything ticking with that, there you go.
So another thing with the MVP, just all wrong, is none of us picked Lamar to win it. I think right now he's the Vegas odds to win it. It's the biggest conversation. Do you think he doesn't win it this year? And they just say, we're not going to give it back to back. I think in the past with Peyton Manning, they said it was voter fatigue. This is why they only gave him 5 MVPs. They didn't want to vote for him every year.
I think if he doesn't win it, it's because Henry came in and Henry was a big part of this offense. Look, some of Lamar's biggest games they lost.
Because the problem is though, his numbers are better this year.
I don't care. Did he win more games?
I don't know.
No, he didn't win more games. He didn't win more games. Josh Allen won more games. So it's not the MVP is not all about.
It
stats.
can't be just about stats. I think the
stats is the offensive player of the year award.
Yeah.
That's what the offensive player of the year award. Yeah. MVP, no. Lamar is not my MVP.
The value to it. All right, offensive rookie of the year, Mr. Brendan.
Listen, we ain't got a lot to root for this year, but by God, Brock Bowers was pretty dang good.
Yes, he was.
108 catches, 1,144 yards, and 4 touchdowns on a team that you probably couldn't name 10 players on. I just think very impressive season. I didn't see this coming out of him. With really 3 starting quarterbacks this year was able to put that, broke Ditka's record, holds every franchise record. I think he holds every rookie record. Maybe not touchdowns, but as far as yardage.
Laporta definitely had more touchdowns.
Receptions and yardage, I think he holds all the rookie records, not only the Raider franchise records. Now it's Brock Bowers. He's the one silver lining on that team at the moment.
I'm right there with you. I'm Brock Bowers. I was between Brock Bowers and Jaden Daniels, and then I kind of looked, and actually I was kind of impressed. I look at Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams' numbers. They're actually a lot closer than most people care to think. The rushing is the big difference there, and of course Caleb Williams was sacked 68 times to lead the league. So I kind of saw that, and I don't know. I guess I got a little bit. I wasn't as impressed, but then I just go back to Brock Bowers and to have a tight end come in. We thought Sam Laporta had the best rookie tight end season ever, and then Brock Bowers he was the only offensive thing going for that team, and I'm just so impressed. And I look back at fantasy, I'm sorry, but if we redid last year, I'm taking him over Malik Neighbors. I'm taking him over Marvin Harrison. I'm taking Brock Bowers. And when I see that, that just tells me he's the offensive rookie.
Catapulted him is Adam Sleeting.
Well, of course, but he was doing it before.
He did, but he took every one of Devontae Adams' targets.
He did. So that's where I'm at. How about you, Kelly?
This is my coffee. I'm flip this.
No, it better not be. No, it can be a lot of things. It can't be him.
Well, let's talk about real quick a player that I didn't pick, but I do want to talk about Brian Thomas.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Because Brian Thomas is going to be your 3rd top ranked wide receiver. He did it as a rookie. He was the only spotlight for the Jaguars. But it didn't elevate the team in wins. And it's the same thing I can say about Brock Bowers, who I thought was outstanding and who I think is, arguably, probably the best offensive tight end we're ever going to see at the rookie position in a long time. But once again, his play didn't elevate the team to wins. Okay?
There's only so much a guy can do.
There's only so much a guy can do. So if I'm looking at the player that really elevates the team to wins, that's Jaden Daniels.
Both are valid arguments.
And I think Jaden Daniels elevated the team to wins. And that's where I came out. And I was just thinking, man, because if you take Jaden Daniels off that team, the Redskins aren't in the playoffs, or the Commanders aren't in the playoffs. And to me, that's the difference. So that's why I went with Jaden Daniels.
I think both are valid arguments. Like I said, I reserve the playoff thing for the MVP, and I look at pure numbers, and I think Brock Bowers had the greatest rookie tight end season ever. I don't think Daniels had the best quarterback rookie season ever. That's why I had to roll with Bowers.
I'm just anti-quarterback. I'm tired of them winning.
Defensive rookie of the year, Brandon.
I'm going to go with Quinyon Mitchell. I don't think there was really a guy that just stuck out this year, but I'm going to go with him, cornerback for the Eagles. I'm looking at it weeks 6 through 11. The most targets his way was 5. Only had 1 catch that day. Gave up a total of 10 catches. through all those weeks combined to receivers his way. That's pretty impressive for a rookie cornerback.
I mean, he come in and he stole the starting spot on a top 3 defense in the league. No, he played very well.
To be a rookie corner, the most yards you give up is 25. The most yards. That's pretty impressive for a rookie to do.
Clint?
So I really like the guy that, again, it is a year you didn't have a lot of real big names out there. You didn't have somebody that really put their stamp on the season, kind of like Will Anderson did last year, and Jalen Carter. Those were the 2 that everybody knew about last year. I really liked Kamari Lassiter for Houston. He's not who I picked. I thought he had a good season. And then, but my big one was a guy named Braden Fisk, Los Angeles Rams defensive tackle. Now, they had another rookie first that was very good, but Fisk from the interior line position, 8 sacks. The Rams were really able to rebuild their defensive line in one draft. It was very impressive because I think Burst is also a really good player. But just looking at it, I think he had a really nice impact. Had 8 sacks from the interior defensive line position as a rookie. Pretty impressive.
You're on the right path. It is Verse.
It is. See, I was just a coin flip. It was a coin flip. I like both of them.
And I had to really do some digging, and I found something that I think is going to impress you guys. I found this article on the NFL Network article, and this was talking about the defensive player stats through the end of November. And so we're going to look at a comparison of Jared Verse, and we're going to look at a comparison to the other defensive players of the years over the last 5 years and compare their stats. Okay? Just so you have an idea of what we're looking at, okay? So, Verse had 50 quarterback pressures all the way to the end of November. He had a quarterback pressure rate of 19.3%, 4.5 sacks, and 30 stops, okay? And what a stop is basically is when a player regains the ball for his team without the opponent being able to score the ball. So he had what we call 30 stops, okay? So, to compare that, Nick Bosa had 49 pressures to his 50 pressures when he got it. Nick Bosa had a 19.5 quarterback pressure rate to his 19.3. Bosa did have 7 sacks, but he had 21 stops. But of course, Verse had 50 stops, okay? 30 stops, excuse me. Then we go to Chase Young in 2020. He had 21 pressures. He had an 8.9 QBP, 3.5 sacks, and 17 stops. Then we're going to go to Michael Parsons in 2021. 39 pressures, 22.7 QBP, 8 sacks, 39 stops. Okay? Will Anderson 2023, 43 pressures, 16.2 QBP, 3 sacks, and 26 stops. When you compare him, he wins on most of those categories overall on a comparison to the 4 of the 5 previous defensive players of the year. I knew he had a good year.
And he was just trying, and that's me. I knew Verse was good.
But I was like, because once again, they're not making the headlines.
Yeah.
Okay. And once again, the Rams' defense is not something that's getting talked about as much. But we've talked about it as the fact that that's one of the reasons why they have played so well, because they have kept the Rams going when the offense wasn't there. I mean, because, there's games they're only scoring 15, 16 points, the Rams offense. What won those games for them? It was their defense. And they've got the best young defensive players, and I agree with you. You're talking Fisk and Verse. This is a good young defense right there. And so that's why I went with Jared Verse.
I like it.
Okay. Head Coach of the Year, Mr. Brendan.
I think this is really, I don't think it's up for debate. Pretty sure you will debate me on it. I'm going Dan Quinn. Last year, the Commanders were 4-13. This year, they're 12-5, and they're in the playoffs. And I think the only thing they changed was the coach and the quarterback. I don't really know of any other big acquisitions, anything. I know they got the defensive back in New Orleans, but I mean, for the overall team. And so Dan Quinn just being able to come in, turn that team around, and literally almost outside of a game, flip their record. And so to me, that was pretty impressive for Coach of the Year.
Clint?
I look at a guy that had the pressure on him, and he never cracked. He never disdained. It's Dan Campbell for me. I just, to be so impressed, like I said, what did it for me is when he goes in and he says, of course we're going to play our guys in week 6, 17. It doesn't matter if the game doesn't matter. And then he tells you what he's going to do. And they have all the lights, and that's what I was worried about Detroit. I was like, man, is this moment going to be too big? They've been the number 1 seed all year long. Are they going to let it down? And it didn't matter. They didn't have Montgomery. They lost. They got so many players on IR, on defense. I mean, just the way he has kept that team so laser focused. I mean, they have not tripped. Everybody freaked out when they lost that one game to Buffalo, but they have just not blinked. I'm just so impressed. And I know he probably won't win Coach of the Year because they had a good year last year and it wasn't such a major turnaround. But to stay at that level with expectations. Because how many times do we see a team have those expectations and they completely falter? And Dan Campbell, man.
Clint has seen that more than we have as an Eagles fan.
Yes, I have. I've seen those expectations falter. Damn, Andy Reid couldn't do it in Philly, but he does it in Kansas City.
The year's not done.
Well, I think Sirianni had a good year coaching.
Sirianni, he did.
I mean, better than what we thought.
Oh yeah, when we were ready to fire him in July week 4.
And the team, he has kept that team.
Yep.
So, but I thought there was, look.
But I was just, like I said, Dan Campbell, I'm just impressed. I can't say nothing more.
I thought there was several good coaching jobs this year.
Oh, agreed.
I think you can go right there with Andy Reid. I mean, you look at Andy Reid. You take this team, they go 15-2. Basically, the last game was a throw-off game for them. But to keep that team winning, to keep that team focused, this is going to be really the first, to me, true chance to get 3 Super Bowls in a row.
At least in 30 years.
I mean, it's just you're looking at a really good shot at having
absolutely
place
the best shot.
And to keep that going, I think that Sean Payton, what he did out there in Denver, is amazing. I mean, the work that he did. Harbaugh with the Chargers, you can make arguments for that. O'Connell over there, Minnesota, great job. But I agree with you, it's Dan. Best coach in the game this year, and when you can come off of the 2 losses that they had, and come back and string the wins that they've had, is amazing. When you look at all of the big games that they've had to win here over the last 3 years, they have showed up for every big game. Yep. Even that NFC Championship game, they showed up.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a team that's on 3rd stringers, double-digit IR players.
Yep.
Specifically on and they lost 2 more defensive players. They lost 2 defensive players in that game.
That's where it really did it for me, is when they lost those defensive backs and they still held Justin Jefferson and the Vikings to 2 fourth and goals. Didn't let them go. I was just impressed.
Yeah. And so that's coaching. You're talking about somebody who's got a grasp of his team and that everybody's buying into the system. He will win it this year. I don't think that he's gonna.
I think Campbell was my number 2. I think the reason that put Quinn kind of ahead of him was we knew Detroit had a good roster. I think it's very impressive what Campbell's been able to do and keep the team focused. I just think it's hard. You got someone like the Commanders were, and you could come in and flip it. To me, that was just pretty impressive to see. Just from a coach in his first year.
We'll see.
All right. Well, gang, that's who we picked. That's what we got. We got the playoffs fixing to start, so we're going to enjoy that, brother. We've been the Rant Squad. I'm the Water Dog. This is
Jordan.
This is
Brendan Menard.
Gang, we are out of here.